My man is Sam Pittman. Okay. And I like Sam Pittman. And I know you have said it, Brown, that he hasn't done enough.
He has not.
Here's his problem. In 2020, should have been 5-5 in that crazy first year after Chad Morris ran the program into the ground, was 0-18 in the SEC. Really should have been 5-5. 3-7, Arkansas fans were like, pretty good based on what we've seen. Next year, he wins 9 games, runs Texas off the field, and then it's been very average since.
They've never won 9 games.
So he is 23-25.
Right.
There is a clause in his contract. Once he drops below 500,
which he is right now,
it drops to $4 million. The
buyout does.
Yes, so you don't want him to get above 500.
He won't.
Yeah, so what you look at is when in season is the time to pull the trigger to make sure he doesn't get back to 500.
Well, let's see the schedule. He's 23-25 right now.
Yeah, well, it's not going to matter. He is going to start 2-4, I think. So at that point,
but he's 24-25 after the first week.
That is right.
So
then he loses.
But you say he loses. That is a swing.
So you think Oklahoma State is for the life of Sam Pittman?
Let's just say that he wins that game.
Okay,
now he's at 500. He's going to beat UAB. He goes above 500.
All right, but now at Auburn they lose. A&M I think they lose, and then Tennessee I think they lose. So and then you're never back close again with the remainder of that schedule.
Yeah, but you've still got Mississippi State. I mean, there's some games on there. You're hosting Ole Miss. Like if you know you want to move on from Sam Pittman, I think during the Auburn, A&M, Tennessee, LSU stretch, you've got to figure out which one of those games. But I will be really surprised if he makes it to mid-October.
I think he gets fired in that off week, based on what you're saying right there.
And here's the other thing to look at. This allows Arkansas, with Bobby Petrino, to give him 2/3 of a season.
That's right.
To actually give us, this is your on-the-job interview. You were able to do it back in the day, and this is an amazing country that we live in, that you can ride off in shame on a motorcycle. There was no chance you would maybe ever coach again, and to maybe be the head coach at that university again.
I don't know what Snoop Dogg's record is from the 90s, his police record. I don't know if it's all just in song or if it's in real life.
It was pretty bad.
I mean, he is the talk of the. I mean, he was the last thing in prime time on the NBC main broadcast. He and Tirico walk over. He puts on an NBC jacket and he does the highlights of the day last night.
Okay, but if you guys are an Arkansas fan and you know inevitably Sam Pittman is going to be out and you remember how good Bobby Petrino had you, do you kind of want this scenario to play out? You're going to save money for NIL and your next coach and whatever. You hate to fire somebody in season, but if in fact it drops to $4 million and you can let Bobby Petrino go out there and be the head coach and see how that works out.
Well, I think the question you have to answer if you're Arkansas is, do I have a stomach for Petrino being my next head coach? Because if you fire him in that bye week and you let Petrino take over, there's 2 very winnable games already at State and hosting La Tech. You can win those games. If he happens to pull an upset against LSU, against Ole Miss, against Texas, or against Missouri, and those would be massive upsets. But if he happens to do that, he's 3-3 with a pelt on the wall against a top 10 team. There's going to be a lot of people crying for bring back Bobby Petrino. Let's go back to the old days. 2
weeks ago in Dallas, Brett McMurphy, who joined us, said, talking to different people around SEC Media Days, that they believe Petrino this year will be worth 2 or 3 wins that they wouldn't have had.
He said 2 or 3 wins, which blew my mind, because if you have them at 4 wins, then that gets them bowl eligible just because of Bobby Petrino.
I mean, look, it's just a different world. We never thought you would see athletes pay the money they're getting paid right now. I think at SEC Media Days next year, Bobby Petrino will be the head coach of Arkansas. I really do.
I mean, but you see,
or it's the greatest moment in Bobby Petrino's Arkansas career is if they fire Sam Pittman midseason. He walks in there and puts his helmet, his armor, and his sword on the ground and says, "No, if Sam's not doing it, I'm not doing it either."
I don't see that. Yeah. Bobby's not one to hold the rope.
But if it would be so non-character, right?
If I told you, what if I told you? Bobby Petrino takes over, they lose to LSU, they beat State, and Ole Miss comes to Donald W. Reynolds Razorback Stadium in the top 10 and loses that game. It would not blow you away.
No, not at all.
Would not blow you away. And now all of a sudden he's 2-1 with another winnable game left. La Tech, that's 3 wins.
And I know there's some people behind the scenes that would say, Arkansas fans, we will never have him as a head coach again. You are already paying him to come back as your offensive coordinator. Really, what is the difference perception-wise?
And the interim season gives him a chance to get all the bad press out that by the time you hire him as his permanent coach,
I'm telling you,
all the bad press out of the way.
I think, and this is going to be one of my 3 guarantees coming up, and I'll revisit it when we do that show. in I guess less than a month. But I really think this is going to play out like this.